Hello to everyone. My paper was also published in the same journal. I see that some of the speakers, some of the presenters published their paper in Sustainability Journal. My paper was also published there. My presentation is about one case study about business sustainability strategy in a cooperative kibbutz industry. This study describes the management approach and underlines the sustainability model in a kibbutz factory situated in a non-privatized collective firm. This research is a case study examining a variety of business strategy that have been enriched the factory and the cooperative community in a kibbutz enterprise. Especially the research examines the impact of communal strategy or business strategy and how this component contribute to the sustainability of the business enterprise. My theoretical frame was lined on three sources. The first source was about communal strategies that flow from cooperative literature. Most of the literature is about kibbutz industry that my recent research is about kibbutz industries. The other one was about business strategies that aim at internal organizational system and they enhance operational ability. And the last one was about external business strategy. The aim was to strengthen the organizational ability with its environmental capacities. I will give some background about kibbutz movement. Kibbutz movement was raised in the beginning of the 20th century. Young Jewish pioneers began immigration and came to Israel. In those years, it wasn't Israel, it was Palestine. It began with the Turkish and later on with the British, hoping to establish a socialistic entity. The pioneers believed in communal egalitarian principles, in socialistic principles, and the whole idea was to establish a cooperative community with no material gain, position, or power prestige. The kibbutz movement participate in formation of the new Jewish state, and in the beginning they helped to establish new kibbutzim and also all kind of various institutions in the Israeli new nation. In the beginning, Israeli state was ruled by the Labor Party, and the Labor Party supported all the kibbutzim, but in 1977, there was a big change in Israeli power, and the Likud party is ruling the state of Israel till now, but their idea was more neoliberal and they didn't support the socialistic cooperative idea. So this was one of the reasons why the kibbutzim got to a big crisis, and most of the kibbutzim were privatized. The meaning of privatization process was that today the kibbutzim, they called the new kibbutzim, they are handled more of neoliberal system, and also they adjust to the new liberal system, and they left some of the cooperative ideas that were the basis to their establishment. And this was only one of the reasons of the Labor Party. The other reason was that the early industry, they wasn't adjust to a neoliberal system, and they need to make a lot of changes in their organizational system. In the past, kibbutz industry had egalitarian communal style of operation, and mainly they were for kibbutz members. And all the atmosphere in the factory was very informal, like a familial. All the decision in the factory was done by the economic community and the General Assembly, all the major decisions. This was in the past. But after the crisis and after privatization process, the factory gained more autonomously. They can recruit all external, not just kibbutz members, also a manager from outside, and all the system in the kibbutz industry was changed. The top management operation decision was now centralized, not by the kibbutz community system, and it became more hierarchic and less egalitarian system and democratic as it was in the beginning, in the early days of the kibbutz industry. So now the kibbutz industry become less egalitarian and more like other industry system. But this case study, what I am describing, this research is really also showing that they kept also some communal business sensibility, although they didn't privatize. So in recent years, the kibbutz industry become more economic orientation, and they focus more capitalistic efficiency on profit and competitive environment. Many of the kibbutzim were eventually sold, some become privatized, but this kibbutz community continue managing the industry, and the factory maintain democratic and egalitarian. A little bit about business strategy and sustainability. The business strategy of a firm is master plan from commercial strategies that consist its objective as well as production and guidelines. Business strategy presents theoretical frame that describe how the business responds to external and internal business strategy. The central concern is every board director to guideline and adherence the strategy of various operational manager to relevant market and to become more profitable. The method of this research was qualitative method. I interviewed more than 25 participants. Some of them were kibbutz members. Most of them were in managerial position, top, middle and managerial position, and also staff members and line workers. And also I used the document analysis. I got from the factory all kind of newsletter, and especially a book that summarized, a booklet that summarized 60 years of anniversary of tea industry. Finding. I would like to present a little bit background of this factory. This factory, it's not the real name of this kibbutz. This is tea industry of tea community. It was established in 1950. It was in the beginning like a small workshop that was provided to get job to the old members of kibbutz members. And they made a lot of plastic items. Later on, they bought roller presses and they made all kinds of various household goods with more press and production line. They expanded to all kinds of production. I will show later on some of their production. In 1960, they adopted technology of injection and they began to make more garments for Israeli armament. And also in 1971, this was a turning point because they made a contract with alliance with Don Gere, the big tractor factor, and they started to produce a lot of production for John Deere. And this alliance made the factory very successful factory. This factory give a better life to all the kibbutz community because today the kibbutz community are based on the factory. If the factory is very successful, it provides a high life, a high style of life. The aim of, at the time of the research, tea industry have 4 plants, the original plant, and another plant is in the participant, another plant is with participation relationship, and other 2 factory, they are not in kibbutzim, but in other area in Israel. A lot of immigrant and other city employees are working in this plant. Today they have in Israel about more than 1,400 people that are working in this factory, but they have a lot of factories overseas, as I will show later on. You can see here all kinds of plastic items like wires for agriculture. The main success of the factory is gaining a lot of invention, a lot of creativity in agriculture, like these wires, or you can see all kind of envelope for cotton or for high nets. Here you can say hay for envelope, all plastic garments, and another plastic garment and lamp